Okay, so I'm going to start off the stream a little bit different today. Python goal. Python goal meditation.py. Before I do this, so HackMatrix is largely about hacking reality. And as such, I've talked about this previously, but I consider myself to be, to use an esoteric word, magic. And so one gains sort of these magic abilities, abstract magic abilities, through meditation. And so there's a book I read called Think and Grow Rich, which taught me this method of writing down your goal every day. And then Steve Jobs' autobiography also talks about this. He was really big into meditation. He picked up something called the reality distortion field, which was basically his way to bend reality. And so I'm really big into goal setting and meditations and things like this. I'm a college dropout, and I was able to get like really high up into tech. My last job was at AWS. And I owe like all of that, I think, personally to meditation and goal setting and stuff like that. So I'm going to start this stream with a goal meditation. So I have written down my goal, and I'm going to meditate on it, and I encourage others to do the same. Real quick, I'm going to enlarge this, clear, gotta make it clean. There we go. to the chat. Check out, could not connect to sockd.sock. I'll see when I have my tech support question finish streaming. Okay. So maybe you do have sockd is cd instead of volume. So what I think I want to do today is I kind of want to fix the these weird shadow effects that are being caused, because they're all over the place. They look ugly. It's just a shader problem. So I think I can fix that. But I think what I first want to do before I do that is I want to do shader hot reloading. So that way I don't have to continuously restart. Okay, so this is create shaders. This creates the fragment shader and the vertex shader after grabbing them. And they've already been grabbed. This is just rewriting them to GLES. Okay, so create shader programs, create shader, link shader, delete shader, find all references to that. Okay, so it takes a vertex path and a fragment path and a geometry path. I'm trying to think about what the best way to do like a hot reloading would be. So it's almost like a shader should start some type of polling thread or something that like monitors its its state and then signals to reload it. Or what I could do is I could do this outside of the shader program. So I think a shader reloading and relinking might not be what I want. I could just add a function called reload if needed. Reload if changed. Oops. So basically what reload if changed would do I imagine it would just go through the same, it would basically just recall the constructor. So it has, you have these two constructors, create shader program. So it would check the to see if it changed on file. Then it would call create shader program. Let me go ahead and just write this so I don't lose this idea. So we'll go to shader. This will be void reload if changed. And I'm not sure why these are const. Oh, that's just for the set utility uniform functions. So there's use, and then reload if changed. Okay. And so the renderer is going to call that every frame. And so we can go ahead and write that. Void shader reload if changed. Okay. So if changed, so we need to write that function. Create shader program. Okay, so it's pretty easy. If it's changed, we just go through okay. So what it needs to do in the constructors is it needs to, let's see if this function has an optional geometry path. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to then save the paths on creation. So to do that, we need some private variables. And so this will be vertex path. I'll use the same names that this used. Okay, vertex path, fragment path, and geometry, like so. Let's go ahead and check out chat. Okay, we have one viewer. Can pop the chat out. Wish I could bring chat down here. Maybe I should add some ability to move these windows. It would be cool if I could click them and then like walk with them and move them to a specific spot, so I could like come up here and then say, okay, grab that, and then move it down here and be like, okay, now I can see chat. There's a lot of stuff I could do with this. Okay, so I have these paths. Except this one's going to be an optional. It's funny, anytime I get a notification on Discord, you guys can hear it on the stream, which is fine. I like that. Okay, so vertex path, fragment path, geometry path. So then this one will set vertex path to vertex path, fragment path to fragment path, and then geometry path to null opt, or null pointer. Null opt. I believe that's how I set that. Maybe it's just null putter. How do I set optional to null to, I think it's std null opt. Okay, std null opt. That's why I couldn't access it. Okay, same thing here. Except this one actually has a proper geometry path. Okay, so now we set those variables upon creation. And so now we can rely on them. So if changed, create the shader program. Okay, so we have mostly this thing created. So I'm actually going to rename this to source code changed. And then, so we have create shader program, It returns a void right now, but I think it should return a bool. So then I can do if not create shader program. I can roll back. So I can set the vertex code equal to old vertex code. I can just create a function rollback and then create shader program. Okay. So that's the basic function there, reload if changed. So just to go through the logic again, if the source code changed, which we're going to check we'll store the date time of the last file change, and if that is greater than what it has been, it will create it'll try to recreate the shader program. If that fails, it will call the rollback, and it will create the shader program. I think this nested if loop is sort of, or this if statement is sort of ugly. So I'm going to actually do something a little better. So success. If not success. I think this is a little bit more readable. Just spitting out some random value out of the create shader program. I mean, I guess you technically would know that, oh yeah, it's going to return a bool, and it's sort of a C idiom to do that, but I'll just explicitly say what it is. Roll back. So if it's not successful, then we're going to roll back, and we already have the code saved, the actual loaded code saved, and so we can just reload that code after I cache it in the old variables, which I'll have to create. And I have to obviously create this function, and then I'll just call create shader program with the new code, with the rollback code. So I'm actually going to rename this to rollback source. Okay. So let's go ahead and create these functions. So bool source code changed, and then void rollback source. I'll call this source code, since that one has source code in it. Okay. So that should fix source code. Oh. I suppose rollback is all one word. Okay, and then create source code is now a bool. Or create shader program is now a bool. Okay. So what's unfortunate is all of these can fail. So create and compile shader program. I will now also have to be bool. And so I can probably figure out how to do that. I'll just have this return a bool. Okay, so that's just it's not even part of this. So if not success, we return false. And then here we return true. Okay, so now this will be handle compile errors, if any. I think I want to rename this to has compile errors. If so I'm actually going to return not has compile errors. So this is now renamed to has compile errors, which has a side effect of printing, which is fine, I guess. Side effects are kind of lame, but if it's just logging stuff, I think that's fine. Okay, so it either has or hasn't. And then this function needs to be bool. Okay. And so this returns a bool now. So auto vertex success, auto fragment success, and then I need optional bool of that'll be named geometry success is equal to null std null opt. And then I will set the geometry success equal to that. And so now create shaders. Will also be a bool. And so if vertex success and fragment success and geometry success dot has value, or if it doesn't have a value, or geometry success. true. False, we return false. And this is a bool. Okay, so this is a bool. Auto create success. Okay, so before I continue, let me check out, see if there's any chat. No chat. Okay. Okay, so then link shaders also can fail, I believe. Oops. Okay. Okay, so if success, not success, we return true. Else we return false. And this one's fairly simple. We attach them all, we try to link. If they don't have linking errors, then we return does not have linking errors. So that will be success. And so now I can say link success, and then we return create success and link success. Okay. So that we can now we now know if we get success in the create shader program. We need to define source code changed, bool source code changed, and we need to define rollback void rollback source code. Okay, so for rollback source code, I will just set vertex program. These are actually going to be shader and shader. Like so. Okay, so vertex code is going to be equal to backup vertex code. Geometry fragment code is equal to backup fragment code, and then geometry code is equal to backup geometry. Okay, so neither of these variables exist, so I will create them. And this needs to be, yeah, that actually should be good. Backup geometry code. Okay, so I roll it back. Okay, so I actually want to load code, vertex path, fragment path, geometry path, like so. So if the source code changed, then we load the code, we create the shitter program from it. So now all I need is the source code changed. And I'm not sure how to write this. How do I detect source code change? Or how do I detect a file change efficiently? C++. Yeah, I knew it was some type of OS API. Yeah, I'll do simple pulling. Okay, so what are these types? FS last std file system time type. Okay, vertex path last right fragment path, and then if geometry path fs last right time fragment path. Last vertex change. Last vertex change. Last. Oh geez, I messed this up. This needs to be fragment change. Last geometry change. just go ahead and take the value because I know it exists. And so we're actually going to compare these. Up to the top. So I'll go ahead and remove that and put that in here. I believe I will have to rewrite. I guess I'll just do that twice. Technically I don't have to include it, but I'll do it anyways. stdf, okay, so fs see if there are any chat. No chat. Okay. Okay, so we're now comparing these two. Auto changed. Bool changed equals false. Changed or equals. I think that's is logical or equals assign. Bitwise or. And then I can just return changed. Okay. So there's one more thing I need to do, which is shader set last changed. Last source code change time. And so then it's basically all of this, except instead of doing this, reset the value. Reload if change, source code change, rollback source code, all of these are private variables or private functions. I'm not sure why it's complaining about this. Oh. So now we can say if changed. Then we'll just go ahead and set last source code change time. So that will take care of it in the iteration, and then this might not be the best place to do that. Might actually be a good place to do that in load code. So now I don't have to ask if it's changed. I don't have to do that here. No matter what, if the code has changed, at all points it's going to call load code. And so this, just saying that the source code changed in the load code makes sense. Even though it's not exactly changed, because it does kind of conflate the concept. So changed would be like, oh, did I reload it into my program? Did it change in my program, or did the actual file contents changed? So there's sort of an abstraction leak there. Which I don't really like. Change. In fact, I think because of that, it almost makes sense to put it back where it was. And then I'm definitely going to rename this. So this is going to be cache last time source code changed on disk. So that way we know that it's not, we're changing it in our memory, we've loaded the code. You could easily make that inference with the way that it was named. Now it's, oh, we're just caching when it was last loaded to disk. And the best place to do that is either when you create the shader program, or you could do it in a bool. That has a side effect. But we can just do it right before we load code. Cache source code changed, so let's cache the time. Okay. Wow, so I think that might actually work. So now I just have to call reload if changed in the, likely the renderer. I think the renderer owns the shaders, which is kind of not the greatest thing in the world. I think the engine should own the shaders. But when I wrote the game engine, I didn't have an engine abstraction when I was learning about shaders and doing all of this, because I used to learn OpenGL. We have a chat. Did you get the auto refresh set up? Auto refresh setup. Kind of. I'm not sure what you mean by auto refresh setup. So if you're talking about auto refresh of models, no. But the work that I'm doing here will actually really help with the work for the auto refresh of models as well. Right now I'm working on shaders because I want to take care of this shadow problem. There's some shadow artifacts. And so I'm going to get auto refresh of shader programs set up so that way I don't have to put the stream on standby and then restart the program. Although I'll have to do that once to load this after it compiles. But then, yeah, I think it's actually, thanks for reminding me, I think it's a good idea to then add what I've learned here to the model reloading. Because it's going to basically be the same thing. I could do this asynchronously. I'm not sure I want to call pull like this on every frame. So it's 11 o'clock. Every hour I write down my goal and then do a meditation about it, and I am going to do this on stream. The reason I do this is I believe that writing your goals and then meditating on them is actually a magical act. Steve Jobs, in his autobiography, said that through meditation he gained the reality distortion field. And so when I read that autobiography, or not autobiography, the biography, about a decade ago, I got into meditation, and it actually is basically magic. He gave away at his funeral the autobiography of a yogi, which describes what yoga magic is, and you can actually do miracles with it. It's pretty insane. So one thing I do is I write my goals, and I meditate on them. And so I'm going to do that on stream just because I do it every hour. And I invite you to do that as well. So I have made a little meditation program. So write down a goal and meditate on it for 5 minutes. And so if you watchers would like to do the same, you can. And if not, maybe just take a break and go get some coffee or something, or stretch. Okay, I've done my goal. Now to meditate. Okay. Okay, so back to the code. Okay, so we're in the render function, so the only thing I need to do is call um, the reload if changed function here every frame. So update shader uniforms, shader use, perspective camera. So something that it's doing is it's actually flipping between the camera perspective and then this is the light perspective. So it uses the depth shader to create the depth map, so then it can use that to create the shadows. So the best place to reload the shader programs is specifically in the each branch of the shader loop. So after I set the shader, I can say shader reload if changed. Okay, and so that actually, this is the only public facing function, so that needs to be down here in the public. Okay. And then same thing for the shadow shader after this gets set. Shader reload if changed. Okay. Cool. Why is that complaining? I need to fix this error. It's not an actual error, it's just my IDE is broken, but it always marks my renderer red. It's kind of annoying. But anyways, so I think this code is probably good to go. But I'm going to look at the diff myself. I think it's probably pretty good, and I'll also ask GPT to look at the diff. Take a look at the get diff and tell me if you think the code is good. I actually never used the get diff like functionality in VS Code, but I think it has pretty great functionality for that. Hot reload path has a few correctness. So it reloads when the files have not changed. No, it doesn't. It might. Yep, there it is. So this would mean, so this is a change. So if it doesn't equal, yeah, okay. So that is a change or change. So yep, ChatGPT caught a stupid error. Rollback path does not preserve the previous shader code. Oh yeah, that's right. No, it does. Oh no. Yeah, backups never get set. Backup source code. So that's good. You know, load code every time load code is called, I should back it up. Probably. I don't like putting it in load code, actually. When you load the code, it's like, where are you backing it up to? It's like you're just duplicating it. Like, that's kind of goofy. So I think putting it into reload if changed is probably the best, even though it's kind of like, it's literally the same thing. It's just like putting it into the method of load code. I think it's probably just, if the code has changed, then we just back it up. I think that makes sense. Reload leaks program objects. Oh, wow. Validation for bad reload leaves previous program unstable. Yeah. Where should I add the GL delete program? No. Only if it's successfully linked. Okay, so it creates. Got it. So our GL create program non-zero. Okay. So program ID, we'll just set that equal to 0, although I do think that's the, oh, it's unsigned, okay. Okay, so in link shader program, we should do it in the create path. Auto last ID, last program ID is equal to ID. If link success, then we GL delete program last program ID, and then in link shader program If it has linking errors, gl delete program ID. And we return, so this is true, return false. And then else, it's going to call create shader program anyways. I'll just set ID equal. Actually, I think what should happen is we should set the ID equal to 0 when the, so we deleted it, ID is equal to 0, and then we return false. That's the best place to do that. Okay. Okay, do another review. While you're doing that, I'll go look at chat. You got this yet? ChatGPT has this. Feld reload still clobbers the current program handler for the replacement is proven good. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, you know what? So it's saying that, no, you don't need to roll back the source program. You don't need to create the shader program. Probably don't even need to roll back the source code per se, because I've already created the program. So that ID is still preserved. So GL link program, if it has a, I'll set, so this will be auto new ID, then I can say new ID is equal to ID, or whoops. So on success, ID is equal to new ID. So we don't clobber the program, the old program. We don't set that to 0. And then all of these are new ID. And now we just switch it, set it if it's good. And so now, none of this matters. That really cleans up the code here. So this doesn't matter. None of this rollback matters. Backup source, rollback, doesn't matter. Not success, we don't need to do that. We just create the shader program. here, if the link is successful, we delete the last program ID. Technically, we can do that in the link shader program. So I'll go to definition. So then if ID is not equal to 0, then delete the previous loaded program, gl delete program ID. And so now if I pop, whoa. I used a vim key binding, but I'm not in vim mode, and so it opened up a file. It tried to do something. It tried to open some file for some reason. Okay, so we no longer need backup. We just if it changed, we cache the last time it changed on disk, we load the code, and then we create the shader program. So we create the shaders, last program ID is equal to ID, link success. Okay, so these two are unused now. This now can go back to being a void. And we don't need that. Okay. Review again. Got it. Still links when compilation failed. Create shader program. Okay. And this doesn't even need to return. the actual working compiled program still exists. It wasn't deleted. ID wasn't cluttered. No need to keep the source code around. Double delete. Double delete is fixed. Linking when compiled is fixed. Leaks heap memory. Oh wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I probably don't want to do that until... Technically, I could probably create a static. That's actually a good point. No, I think it needs to be on the heap. I think it's complaining about it. No review. No. Now review. Oh, yeah, because it doesn't return anymore. So I was using early return for that. I don't really like the early return idiom when there's not actually return values. Even when there is return values, it causes subtle bugs like that. 2 is allocated with new and free with delete instead of delete. Oh. Wait, I can just pass source code C string? Yeah, I can. What does this function take? Yeah, it's going to complain. So I'll just ignore. I've never heard of deleting. Okay, delete that. There we go. Yep, I'm fine with it advancing. That can suppress the first attempted reload after the file is corrected. No, that's not a problem. This isn't a problem. Every time a file changes, it will attempt a reload. That's fine. I think what it was saying actually is that it's going to, every time the source code changes, so if it fails to load, it's going to no, that's fine. That's exactly the behavior I want. I want to cache it after it detects a change. That's the exact behavior I want. Still deletes the new ID and continues to delete the old ID. What? Okay, so it's complaining about error handling now. Yeah, that might actually be a problem. I don't really want it to throw. Got it. So for this one, I want the overload. And so for this one, I also want the error code. But then so if we get an error code on paths that should exist, we should just say it didn't change. Like, we don't really want to try to handle this. Just ignore it until... So a change here is going to be a successful set of code that exists. And so if you delete a path and then you change a file, that's going to not trigger a change because it's not a valid change. The source code set has not changed into another source code set. It has ceased to become a source code set. Okay, review now. And while you do that, I'll take a look at the chat again. Alright. Got it. So we still want to, at the end, always delete the shaders. I think technically I want to, if this happens all the time, then I want to call that in create shader program. That's Create shaders, link, delete. It shouldn't be in the link. Yep, again, that's why these shaders do not get created at runtime. But I suppose it's probably a good idea to add a destructor anyways. I want to make sure that ID, whenever the program gets set, it always deletes. Or anytime the program is deleted. So it deletes the new ID. If it has errors, it deletes this if it's not equal to 0, but then it sets it to new ID. I think that's the only time GL delete program 1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay, has no destructor. Residual risk is mainly around the behavior of transient file state. Yep, that's fine. Alright, I think this code is good. Good to go. So let's go ahead and compile it. Check out chat. Check out stream. We've got one viewer. Hello, viewer. Check out Discord. Zippity doo dah, zippity day. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Zippity doo dah, zippity day. Got a blue bot on my floor. So the apparently the shader.h is used in a lot of places, maybe. I'm actually very surprised that it has to compile all of this. What is my diff like? Okay, so it changed the protobuf recently, I guess. Maybe. I think this is gonna be good. Maybe my protobuf loader is broken. Not the loader, but the CMake list that detects if it's changed. So I don't recall changing the proto file recently. I mean, I did last night, but I already made that and changed it. I don't think this should be rebuilding like this. It should have just compiled the renderer and the shader. It's fine though. While it's doing that, I can go move this key. So it doesn't belong here. Bin activate. CD scripts, Python. Let's make this a little smaller. So now I have to find the key, and we want to move this probably like -20, and then probably like -50, and then probably like a scale of 1. Okay, not quite there, but I will. Yeah, go ahead. Whoops. The problem is that it has Python open. It's like, what is it doing? It just doesn't want that program to be running. Okay, kitty source bin bin activate cd scripts Python entity 2e. Let's go to the key. Okay, so we want to move it probably to -30, something like that. And then I want to raise it to like 10 or 15. Or 17. And then this should be like -28. And then let's do -60 to get it close to the door. -70 to get it closer. Oh, what? Okay. -75, I think that's good. And then negative goes too far to the left, and then not far enough up or down. So that would probably be 19, maybe. That looks good enough. Okay, it's built. So before I restart this, I need to go to my stream program, or my stream setup, and I need to SSH. Okay, and I need to screen R. It's going to tell me, okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I am going to close the stream, FFmpeg stream. You can see all the frames it's uploading. And then I'm going to switch over to my server and run the standby stream. So that when I reboot, it doesn't kill the YouTube stream. Okay, and we're back. So I switched from the Ubuntu back to here. I'm glad I put it on standby because I actually had to physically restart my my computer. Sometimes the GPU causes it to like freeze on exit. There was chat, so I am going to address the chat. You said I'm on crack. How did I do this? I don't know. I just wrote code, window manager code. So that's how I did that. At first it started off just like rendering Emacs onto a cube. If we go look at my Reddit here, I haven't seen these comments, so what, wait, what, rate my setup. Okay, that's just OS exit home, okay, yeah. That's funny. Touch some grass, bro. I'll answer this later. Let's go back to YouTube and go to live. I think I just need to go to create, go live, and it should just show me the live chat, live stream. Yeah, we're still good. Good to go. Alright. ChatGPT is going to try to vibe code HackMatrix using C++. Yeah, I mean, so I actually vibe coded the Wayland port, and it was such a terrible experience. So we can look at that PR. So it wrote like roughly 20,000 lines of like dog shit code. So this is all AI slop stuff. You can see that 25,000 lines of just slop. And I have since had to go back and refactor it all. The only part of that code that I probably wouldn't have been able to write without the assistance of ChatGPT would have been, let me show that. There's just like some weird like file, or some weird like bit manipulation stuff. It was sort of difficult. Wayland app. But like, I had a bunch of systems in place, and ChatGPT just like shot out its tendrils and bypassed all of them. It was not great. So the only code that I probably wouldn't have been able to write is all of this, like basically the app texture code, which is the hardest part of doing this. So you have to like handle all of the specific types of settings and shit. So I'm glad I didn't have to write that. But basically everything in this file, which I've spent a lot of time refactoring, was pretty slop. Okay, so the hot reload of shader code probably works now. The main problem is that if I mess up the shader such that the shader compiles and it's good and it loads, but it breaks my ability to work on a terminal, specifically this terminal, then the stream will crash and I will not be able to recover. So we have to be very careful about what edits I make to the shader programs. So let's go open up a shader. I think the fragment shader is proper. Not the depth fragment, the regular fragment shader is probably the best. So here's a shadow calculation. So if I were to like increase this to like 4, oh gosh. Okay. Well, that was dumb. Let's bring it back to 1. I think that's what it was at, right? Okay, so what this tells me is that the shader reloader itself is broken. And so that's fine. And so I can actually, exactly what I said, what's happening right now is I have a direct blit. So if we go look at the renderer, renderer.cpp, see if I can find out where this is. Render apps. I'll probably have to refactor render apps as well, because this used to be such a clean function, and the Wayland port just slopified it. But you can see here that what if statement is this in? Oh, this is the render layer shell. That's not the one I want. Okay, currently focused app. So if an app is focused, so here it is unfocused with the broken shader. If it's focused, then it will what is it doing here? Direct render. It should direct render. I'm not sure why it's not. That may just be slop. No, direct render Wayland apps. That's not it. It should have been if it's focused. So it used to be this path would render a directly focused app regardless of the broken shader program. But anyways, I'm going to go to chat real quick. And I'll address the chat, and then I will reboot and try to fix the shader reloader. Claude Opus 4.6 going fast mode. What do you mean? Windows is better? No. I haven't used Windows in a decade, I think. I actually installed it for like a week because I wanted to develop HackMatrix for Windows, which I still think I probably will do. But I couldn't use it. I was like, I hate this system. I don't know what a Kano or Risa is. Windows is trash. It's a login sim. Windows better than Linux. Windows can do anything. You have to hack it to install Chrome on Linux. Yeah, especially if you're using Gentoo. It's kind of a pain to get Chrome. You have to compile for like 30 minutes. Yeah, you can sudo apt install Chrome. It's pretty easy. But on Gentoo, you actually have to sit and let your CPU burn for a while. Arch is better. I've used Arch. I actually have an Arch image on this system to test HackMatrix and Arch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is exactly what I did last time, which is I have on AWS, I have a Ubuntu server, and so I'm going to throw it onto standby. I'm going to crash my stream, switch it onto standby from the server, so I'm going to stream from the server, and then I'm going to restart my system. And then I'll be right back. Okay. I forgot how to detach a screen after I kill the terminal process that has it. And so I actually had to p-kill ffmpeg as opposed to just loading my screen and then control-C'ing it. That's unfortunate. But. Okay, so stream should be back up. And I think I'm going to probably try to diagnose what happened with the reload path. Let's see. Those two are kind of funny. I like Lenovo though. ThinkPads are great. Okay, so I'm not going to rewrite the fragment. I am going to ask ChatGPT, look at the diff and tell me why you think a change to the shader program made everything go gray. So that's number one. I'll have it try to look for a problem. Oh, that's actually a great point. So it has a new program, and so the shader uniforms have to be reset, probably. Yep. See, ChatGPT is excellent to just, oh, by the way, you know you have to reload the shader uniforms. So on the renderer, shader program does not get the view projection. What I may do, so in the reload path, if I were to cache all of these shader vars and put them in a map, Then on reload, I can just reload them all and reload all of the uniform. So I think that's the path I'm going to take, actually. Because I already have these setter functions here. Set bool, set int, set float, set matrix, 40, okay. So this is actually something I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to do. And the reason for this is all it has to do is create these maps. Then it just has to do updates to the maps and then add the updates, set them all on load. So it's kind of repetitive to do in a way. I mean, I guess I don't have to use GPT to do it. This is a coding stream after all. So unsorted, so std unsorted map, I think. You know what, screw it. Please add the shader.cpp.h has setter functions for the uniforms. I want to store the state, I want to store all of the uniforms in maps, and then when a setter is called, also write a function called restore uniforms that gets called after the it's called, I want to exactly specify where this gets called. After line 273 of shader.cpp, where create shader program is called. Let's look at chat. In main CPP, the AI made HackMatrix and made 500 lines of code. Yeah, you can make me a Fortnite cheat. Codex did a good job. It shows the windows. I can type. Oh, you made a HackMatrix clone? I don't think you're going to make a HackMatrix clone out of 500 lines of code, but I mean, go ahead and upload that to GitHub, and that would be pretty cool if you could do it in 500 lines. What is going on? So first off, this didn't save. Yeah, don't save. We'll just reopen that. Not sure why it removed the const. Oh my god, so slop, dude. Pure slop. it knows that it has these setter functions. And yet it just decides, oh, I'm just going to yeet all of this into the restore uniforms should use the setter functions. No, it's not, so the restore path stays. I guess it is, so the restore path stays consistent. I just don't want code duplication. Fucking slop code. Sorry for the cursing. Okay, so it creates the program, restores the uniforms. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. So let's go ahead and cd build make. Dang, dude. It rebuilt the protos again. So it's going to take forever again to compile. So I have to go to CMake lists and fix that, although I'm not going to do it here. But the problem is that it's deciding to remake the proto files and it sees that they change. Yep. Proto C executable, all of this stuff. So it's actually copying them to the output dir, but I think the problem is it's saying copy if different. But I think for some reason the file that gets created is going to always be different. Perhaps. I'll just go ahead and ask it to fix that. While it's handling that, let's check out chat. Yup, I'm subbed. Nice. Bye, old one. I'm going to drop a link to the Discord. I should probably put that in the description of the live stream too. We're down to 2 people now. Dos personas. Where do I get the chat description? There we go. And I'll drop that into the chat as well if anyone wants to join. Oh yeah, I was going to answer this. If you don't mind, what skills helped you land the AWS job? Is there anything particular that helped you get hired there? All of the possible. What are they called? They're the leadership principle. Okay. I live. Comported box. Okay, I'll wave to you if you join. Okay, let's see what. Okay, so the executable is made. Protobuf explicitly hashes the protofiles before running proto-C. That's cool. See, that's something I wouldn't have been able to do. What in the world? Bro, look at all of that. I hope that actually works. It looks like it works. Okay, so I'm going to do the same trick. Where I'm going to try to delete one of these screens. I guess it probably doesn't matter. So I'm going to open screen and I'll run standby, but before I do that I'm going to kill the stream on my machine, start it on the server on standby, and then restart. Okay, so stream should be back. Okay, we are back. And let's go ahead and try changing some values in the shader now. See if that works. Okay, let's go back to fragment, and I'll just change this to 2 and save. Well, there you have it. It's broken. So that didn't work. Just go ahead and change it back to 1. And let me just verify that this stuff works. Okay. So all of the shader reloads it if changed, and then it uses it. So do I have to like reattach all of the, like set up the vertex array pointers and shit? 'Cause maybe that's the problem. Before I do that, I'm going to reboot so I don't have a gray screen again. So I'm going to do that, set it up to standby. Okay, for some reason, the stream just broke. I thought I transferred it over, but it didn't transfer, and I almost lost it, but luckily I didn't. Anyways, so there's still a problem with the things, and I think it might be because these you basically have to set up all of these vertex array pointers and shit on a reload, I think. No, you don't. It says set up an attribute array. Oh, wow. It's funny that I was just asking about the problem and it's like, I'll just fix it for you. And I'm not actually sure if that's funny. That's a lot of people probably wouldn't like that very much. Yeah, so if there's no view matrix and no projection matrix, it's not going to render anything. Okay, let me try to reboot now after looking at chat. In the HackMatrix clone, add building maps and share them to the world. It's I still don't believe you that you're making a HackMatrix clone, but if you are, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to open up a screen and then throw this on the standby after I kill the stream. Okay, and we are back up. Back to chat. Says the stream is excellent. We have only one concurrent viewer. Hello, viewer. All right. VS Code. Let's try to get the shader stuff working again. This time, I don't foresee any problems that could make it break. I think all of them have been solved. So with luck... Ooh, it worked. It worked. Alright, so now I can like really play with like some stuff. Is this code, the show shadow calculations, is that even being used anywhere? Shadows are enabled, so maybe the bias just isn't that big of a factor. Alright, so you have ambient strength, so I can like drastically increase that. Oh, that's so cool, guys. So I can just alter the shader code and it live reloads. Oh, I'm really happy with that. For some reason it's lagging out when I do that though. It is not happy. I'm still pretty happy that I'm happy that that was able to work. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to increase the shader and it auto reloads when I save. That's so cool. It's like, I want to check out ultra shiny stuff. Okay, so the main reason why I added this in the first place is because the shadows are strange. So I can get rid of the shadows, which looks absolutely terrible, just to be honest. So let's add them back. Makes everything so much better looking. Guys, I might use this live reload stuff to do like shader program demos. I think that would be really cool. So it's really the shadow calculation. Okay, so it's this value I think that I need to change So if you see that, you can see that the shadows are more jagged now. So if I were to go back to the original value, norm of the light direction of 0.5. So this is the current depth minus bias is greater than. Okay, so the bias just gets rid of the jaggedness, but it causes all of this weird noise stuff. Added accounts to the HackMatrix clone. Nice. Wait, isn't this... So I think I remember you telling me that this is like a web... again, I'm not sure if you're just joking with me, but if you aren't... Oh, you said in the main.cpp. I was thinking that you were saying that you made like a web-based version. Anyways, let's see. I'm going to change that, and I think that changing the bias gets rid of most of the lines, maybe not all of them. So I'll change that maybe to 0.1 for the bias. Okay, so that seems to get rid of most of the shadow noise, although not all of it. Still has some really strange effects. So then maybe I jack up that to like 0.4. So now shadows are very jagged. They still cast, but I see no noise anymore. So I just want the entire current scene to have no noise. You can see the noise there now. Coming from, I believe this light is what's causing that stripe. So I'm going to add the bias to be that. And now I see absolutely, I still see shadows for the most part. That's good. I see tree shadows being cast that way and that way. Kind of jagged shadows. But I see no artifacts anymore, which is exactly what I wanted to fix. Oh, nope, I still see some artifacts caused by like this light. Maybe, or maybe it's the light over there. Either way, I think it's probably okay. Actually, what I can probably do is set a max shadow distance. Current depth minus bias is greater than the closest depth than it has shadow. See, the problem is if I did that, then it would cut off right here. Which is not what I want. For some reason, live editing these programs are like causing serious, live editing the shaders is causing like some serious dropping of frames and glitching and shit. I'm not sure why. Not joking, and it's web-based. Okay. Oh my gosh, it just opened HTOP in just... What terminal is this? I don't know why it's so glitchy. Anyways, I'm going to do a git commit on this. And then I am, maybe I'll add 0.45 so the lines sort of disappear. I'm fine with them being there, I guess. Maybe I do a 0.6. Okay, I think that's a decent bias. The shadows are pretty janky. I think it's because of the like hard edges. But still overall I think it's pretty good. I'd much rather have that than all of the artifacts. So with that fixed, I am going to commit this and then probably stop the stream. So it's first RM stream recording. Not sure what that is. Git add source shaders include and C make lists. Git status. Make sure everything is. I don't think I need to fix launch. Although maybe I can get add launch. It's just not going to use the NVIDIA GPU. I don't know if I want to add that yet. I'll just add it. most people probably aren't going to have two video cards anyways, like I do. It only happens if you have a gaming laptop. Add shader auto reloader. So we add the shader auto reloader and then fix the shader lighting. Okay. Okay. Well, if you have it, I would like to see it. That would be pretty cool. Let's check your God, why is it so laggy right now? It is absolutely lagging right now. Let's go click on go to channel. Cycle your projects. It's pretty cool. Oh, this is roller blocks. That's cool. Let's see, still uses less resources than Microsoft. Exactly. I guess I can hang out a little bit more. See if there's one viewer. Maybe I won't. How long have I been streamed for? Microsoft is a login sim. Yeah. So it looks like Comported Box is amazing, is the only viewer at the moment. I've been streaming for nearly 3 hours, as you can see here. I think that's probably enough for me for tonight. I got done what I wanted to get done, so yeah, I will I guess stream tomorrow some other time. I'm not sure. I stream when I sort of feel like it, but I have 2 in a row thus far, so anyways, adios.